Imagine for 1 minute that your boss is a bit of a technophobe and he's not some kind of Excel expert like you are. Imagine if you could present something like I've got on screen here, where you could just play around with this. I can pick on any different year, or I could even drag, say, well, last 2 years, or maybe all of the different things. Now that is easy to use, and that's what I'm going to show you how to do right now. In this video, I'm going to go through how to use slicers and timelines. You can download the very spreadsheet I'm working on by clicking in the link below, and I'll send that straight to you, and then you can either work along or you can do that at the end of the video. I'm John, this is Up for Excel on Pivot Table Layouts. So previously we had a pivot table a bit like this, and to be honest, you know, it's fine, it's got all the information, but there's a lot of numbers on there, and it's not, if we want to put, restrict some kind of dates on it, you know, if we start saying, oh, well, yeah, let's have the order years in columns or something like that, I mean, crikey, we're talking mountains of data shooting off the table, so we don't want to do that, shooting off the spreadsheet. Right. Back to where we were. So what we could do, if we go to the Analyze tab of the pivot table and insert slicer, and at the moment we have region on here, or have ship mode. So if we just tick ship mode on there and OK, what we get is sort of floating slicer here where we can click on any particular ship mode or more than one by clicking on this multi-select. Okay. Or we can click on this one, clear it all, and we're back to where we were. Now it's unfortunate that that does not format in the same way as that, but you can see that the slicer, as soon as you click on the slicer, you get this options toolbar and you can just format it in the same way as your main pivot table. You can also resize it as much as you want. So you might want to do something like that. You might want to, for example, insert a few rows at the top and chuck that one in there. It's not looking great, so I'll just show you a few of the options on here. So the main ones are in the align box, you can select snap to grid, which is ideal because then when you move it, you'll be snapping straight onto the grid, and you can see that that's going to look a lot better straight away. Second one I want to draw your attention to is the number of columns. And this, you can do, say that. So that's already looking better. We're snapping it to the grid. So I think now we have something where we can sort of quickly say which delivery methods we're interested in, if any. Now, of course, we could take, ship mode. We could take that completely out of the pivot table there, and then it would just change the values depending on where we are. The other great feature for people that are not really comfortable using pivot tables and laying them out manually is to insert a timeline. Now, timelines will automatically pick up date fields. So you can see my only option on here is an order date. So I'll click OK to that, and that again has just given me an order date timeline. And there's several features of this. The first one, it's defaulted to show this by month and year. You can see there's quite a lot of them. But I could click on years, and that's what I had shown you before. Or you could just click any year, or you can extend out to get multiple years. But also you can do quarters, and then you have exactly the same feature. So we can strip back various quarters, or just slip individual quarters, individual years, or any combination we like on that. and then you can go all the way down to days. And it depends on what kind of data you're looking at as to how useful that might be. I can't imagine for the particular data we're interested in, anything lower than quarters is just going to be a bit of a pain. So I'm going to stick on years for the moment. And you can actually see here that if you go to quarters and you pick something fairly obscure and then go back to years, you can see you've got parts of years on here and a statement of what it is. You can click on this bill, clear the filter, which will give you go back to everything. And there's basically the same sort of options when you click on here as you had on a slicer. So you've got your star one, so we would probably want to do something like that to match it up with the rest of our pivot table. And we can again do a line, we can snap it to the grid. It's ideal. I've just taken it off, in fact. So snap it to the grid there. And we can take off things like the header, which I don't think is particularly useful. So that might be worth taking off. The scroll bar, if we do that, it's probably worth it. And once we've set our time level, we can untick that to stop people messing with it. So if we only want people to be able to select whole years, for example, we could click on years, untick time level, and that would give us a sensible sort of buttons for people to push by year. Now what we could do, for example, here is move this around. So put this on up here. I personally think 3 columns, insert a few rows at the top. So we'll do that, and we'll put that up there and just resize it to that. Obviously we're going to need another row. And there, I think that's a pretty good pivot table. So that's all years, all delivery types. We've got our grand totals. We've got some nice summary totals. I think that's a pretty good looking report. And I think even my grandma probably find that easy to use. So quick recap for all those technophobes out there that you're supplying data to. Give them a slicer or a timeline so they can play with the data themselves. They don't need to know anything about pivot tables. You could even switch the pivot table field options off so that when they click on it, they're not going to show. They don't even need to know what a pivot table is to be able to play with that data. They'll think it's fantastic. You're basically going to limit the amount of questions as well, potentially coming back to you, because they'll be able to answer their own questions. Remember that you can download this spreadsheet yourself and have a play around. I'm going to leave it with all the finished examples in it as well. So you've got great examples there of various different formats that you can use and layouts. In the next video, I'm going to be going into a lot more detail about pivot table formats and how you can make your pivot table look good. So make sure you subscribe, hit the bell icon. You don't want to miss that. You've been watching John on Up for Excel, where I'm going to help you get your Excel skills up so you can get these task times down.